What's in it for me? How will a skunk works change my life? We're hearing that from some of you, and we have an answer. We think it's perhaps, though, not the right question to get to the answer that you really want. Pilots know if you're going to end up at the right place, you've got to come in on the right runway. And if you give me a moment, I'd like to take this plane, back up a few thousand feet, circle and come in a different runway and answer this question. How will a skunk works actually transform and change your life? In the scriptures, we see that the big picture for Christians and for people of faith is that we're supposed to love God and love our neighbor. Now, what does love our neighbor mean? For the Jews, it meant willing the well-being of others. Not wishing for, wanting, hoping, necessarily praying for. Actually, instead, making products and policies and processes that cause and promote human flourishing in the wider world. It was what was known as shalom, or why God said in Genesis, for example, that all people on the earth will be blessed through you. And the best example of shalom is found in Jeremiah as the Jews are pulled into captivity by the Babylonians. And God says this to them. He says to build homes, plant gardens, get married, build businesses, raise families, and, quote, seek the peace, their shalom, and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper. The Jews were told to the degree to which their lives would be changed was the degree to which they changed the Babylonian culture. Now think about your question. Why get in a skunk works? And think about the different runway we're coming in. The Jews had a definition for reality that the Babylonians could adopt and take seriously and change their institutions. In this skunk works, we will give you this same definition of reality, because reality is reality. It hasn't changed. I live, for example, not too far from Baltimore, headquarters for T. Rowe Price. Shalom literally says this: the degree to which T. Rowe Price takes this definition of reality seriously and acts on it is the degree to which believers in T. Rowe Price are transformed. The corollary, though, is also the same. The degree to which T. Rowe Price doesn't take this definition of reality seriously and act on it is the degree to which believers are not transformed. That's why, for example, the skunk works is to create a product like this for the bicycling world. It's not principles and worldview. It's tangible products that people would take seriously, find attractive, and would say, where does that come from? Now, once you understand shalom this way, we understand why Jesus took the very same question that I raised in the beginning, how will I grow? How does this transform my life? What's in it for me? And Jesus reframes their question by landing on the same runway. In Luke 17, Jesus has just culminated teaching on the kingdom, and the disciples say to him, increase my faith. Listen to this response by Jesus. Jesus said, if you had faith as small as a mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree, be uprooted and planted in the sea, and it will obey you. In other words, big faith is not a big deal. But suppose, Jesus says, one of you had a servant plowing or looking after the sheep. Would he say to the servant when he comes in from the field, come along now, sit down, eat? No. Would he rather not say, prepare my supper, get yourself ready, and wait on me while I eat and drink. After that, you may eat and drink. Would he thank the servant because he did what he was told to do? So you also, when you've done everything you were told to do, should say, we're unworthy servants, we have only done our duty. Increasing in our faith is a lot like being fed. And Jesus said, if you had a servant who just came in from the field and said, feed me, which is a lot like asking, how does this change my life? How will I be fed? How will I grow? He said, you wouldn't say to that servant, sure, sit down, eat. You would instead say to the servant, well, first of all, serve me, properly clothe yourself, and after I have eaten and drunk, so then you will. Shalom says the degree to which they flourish, your faith will flourish. Why get in a skunk works? Because you won't learn principles, you will create products. And the more we create, the more you are changed. You will learn under mentors who will give you a definition of reality to help frame these products and policies and processes inside of reality. Mentors, we believe, are similar to what we saw in the mentoring relationship of Anne Sullivan with Helen Keller. In May of 1877, 6-year-old Helen Keller met her mentor for the first time. Born as a bright child, an early infection and illness had rendered Helen Keller blind, deaf, and increasingly unruly. Anne Sullivan came along and gave her life up for Helen, causing Helen to flourish. But what's less well known is late in her life, Anne Sullivan lost her sight. And the protege, Helen, became the mentor to Anne. In the same way, in a Skunk Works, we as mentors will help you frame up products and policies that will be taken seriously. In turn, in the long run, you will become our mentors and mentors to others. So how does the Skunk Works change my life? What's in it for me? How will I be transformed? The degree to which we transform the world, you will be transformed.